us at STL TV Live. I'm currently joined by Ken McManus, who's the director of the Alliance for Healthy Communities, and his organization is sponsoring the Missouri Marijuana Prevention Tour, which sounds perfect for what our community needs, don't you think?
Important, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back and talk about the Alliance for Healthy Communities. How did it get started? When did it get started? And what are you doing in our area?
Right. So the Alliance for Healthy Communities is a coalition of community partners. Mm-hmm. We are hosted by the Parkway School District. They provide us space. They operate as our fiscal agent. We are operating under a 5-year grant from the Missouri Foundation for Health. Our essential mission, and what makes us, I think, really important and different than other historically, if you think back on the history of prevention, mm-hmm. Is that we're really charged with identifying and changing the conditions in our communities that enable some of the long-standing challenges in adolescent health, substance mm-hmm. abuse, underage drinking, and risk for suicide.
So are you working directly with families, with the educators, or with the teenagers themselves, or all of those?
All of that, but again, not necessarily in ways that history would suggest. Mm-hmm. We're interested in identifying, again, what I'll call community conditions. Well, what does that mean? So at one level, it's, what are some of the operating practices in our communities? If we look at how easy is it for kids to access alcohol or marijuana? And what can we do about that? What can we do with law enforcement partners to tighten up the ship, if you will, and how can we work with neighborhoods and families to make sure people do things like close garage doors and pay attention to their alcohol and how they manage their medications and stuff in the home.
So close garage doors for what reason?
Well, this goes back generations. You think as problems proceed over generations, somehow the new behaviors, but kind of an ageless one is sneaking into the neighbor's garage, is standing open and thinking you may find beer mm-hmm. or alcohol there. And then beyond that is just safety issues. Sneaking in, it's usually in the dark at night and folks can be hurt. So, just trying to make practical suggestions about how, we can better manage those parts of our lifestyles.
Right.
On a more deep level, we have a good body of data that suggests lots of kids, and again, we work in the west central St. Louis County area, mm-hmm. that lots of kids in our communities, while very busy, and they like their lives as far as stuff, they don't necessarily have a real meaningful type of involvement. The things they do as a function of obligation, function of duty. Not as many as we'd like to believe are
so
really...
So a lack of meaningful involvement in their lives therefore leads to more alcohol, marijuana, drug use?
Right, so the science in prevention basically says this. When people feel like they make a difference, that they matter, mm-hmm. they take themselves and their health more seriously.
And that's true for across all ages.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So do we have a drug problem, a marijuana problem, alcohol problem among the teenagers in St. Louis, and is it a growing problem? Absolutely, we have a problem. And some of it's more newsworthy lately than, say, others. And is it growing? It fluctuates. The marijuana problem has ebbed and flowed, but it has been on the increase for the last 4 or 5 years again nationally. Mm-hmm. Our local trends are really no different. Is it increasing more than other types of substances, illegal substances for teenagers? In the general scheme of things, yes, it is. And I say it that way because we might see more news articles about heroin and heroin overdoses and the horrible tragedy of all that. But marijuana use is kind of, and alcohol abuse with underage drinking as well, has kind of been this steady, constant process of degradation of lifestyles and people's ability to function and perform. And so it doesn't get the same attention. In fact, to some extent, there's a bit of issue fatigue around some of these things. People are tired of hearing about it. But what's really tragic about that is that as a function of the science of hybridization and so forth, today's marijuana is so much stronger than it was when we were kids. Right. Right, so this is leading to more and bigger problems. More and bigger problems. The potential for addiction. There's a growing body of science that's demonstrating that the adolescent developing brain is horribly vulnerable to damage Right.
structural damage and functional damage from even just marijuana use a few times a week.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be dramatic and heavy.
Right. So we're going to take a break right now, come back and talk about the prevention tour that is going on right now, and
Great.
we'll be have right here in St. Louis next week. So stay right there. We'll be back with Ken McManus to hear more about the Missouri Marijuana Prevention Tour in just a few minutes.